Okay, let me give a disclaimer to this poem. I stopped reading this poem for a while. Many poems I decided to stop reading and start reading again. I read an article by Kate Bornstein. Y'all know who she is? Yeah. Just this rad activist, and she, writer, activist, and she wrote an amazing article about the amount of energy the queer community is putting into marriage equality, and it just sort of blew open my brain in many ways. It got me thinking about things that I had never thought about before. And basically, she's talking about how much energy we're putting into marriage equality when there's so many things that desperately, desperately need our attention, specifically when so many of our youth are committing suicide and everything that's been happening with the bullying and all these things that just need our attention so badly. Anyway, go find the article, katebornstein.com, and read it, and you'll know what I mean, if you don't already. But read her article anyway. And so I stopped reading it for a while, and then I decided what was true for me, at least for right now, because I change my mind all the fucking time, was that I thought that marriage equality, and I hate gay marriage because it's not inclusive of all people. Let's say queer marriage, it's more inclusive of people of all genders and sexualities. So for me, it's one thing to be working for on that list for two reasons. I taught in a preschool, and when I was teaching in the preschool, I walked by these two little girls who were sitting at their desk one day, and one little girl said to the other little girl, "Someday I'm going to marry you." And the other little girl said, "No, we can't get married because we're both girls and we'll go to jail." And I realized that what she thought was that something being not legal meant it was criminal. And in our culture, from there, criminal breaks down to evil. And from evil, there you have 1,000 stories of suicide, hate crimes, bullying, all that shit. The other story is I was in Colorado reading this poem in a tiny little bar. And a woman came up to me afterwards and said that several years previously she was living in Kansas with her partner, and her partner got sick and was rushed to the emergency room. And she was in the waiting room trying to get into the room with her where she was being helped. They wouldn't let her in because she wasn't family. And she was going fucking nuts in there trying to get, do anything she could do to get into the room, but they would not let her in. And she told me her partner ended up dying that night. And she said she wakes up every day of her life not knowing if her partner knew how hard she was trying to get into the room to be with her. So I've been reading this poem. It's always awkward to just start singing after I tell that story. Ba 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 dang 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 ding a dong ding I do dip 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 do I do dip 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 ba 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 dang 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 ding a dong ding I do. But the fuckers say we can't. Because you're a girl and I'm a girl, or at least something close. So the most we can hope for is an uncivil union in Vermont. I want church bells. I want rosary beads. I want Jesus on his knees. I want to walk down the aisle feeling the patriarchy smile. That's not true. The patriarchy can fuck itself. But I do want to spend my life with you. And I want to know 50 years from now, when you're in a hospital room getting ready to die, when visiting hours for family members only, I want to know they'll let me in to say goodbye. Because I've been 50 years memorizing the way the lines beneath your eyes form rivers when you cry, and held my hand like an ocean at your cheek saying, "Baby, flow to me." Because 50 years I've watched you grow with me. 50 years of you never letting go of me through nightmares and dreams and everything in between. From the day I said, "Buy me a ring." Buy me a ring that will turn my finger green so I can imagine our love is a forest. I want to get lost in you. And I grew like a wildflower every hour of the 50 years I was with you. And that's not to say we didn't have bad days. Like the day you said, "That checkout clerk was so sweet." And I said, "I'd like to eat that checkout clerk." And you said, "Honey, that's not funny." And I said, "Baby, maybe you could take a fucking joke every now and then." So I slept on the couch that night. When morning came, you were laughing. Yeah, there were times we were both half in and half out the door, but I never needed more than the stars on your skin to lead me home. For 50 years, you were my favorite poem. I'd read you every night knowing I might never understand every word, but that was okay, because the lines of you were the closest thing to holy I had ever heard. You'd say, this kind of love has to be a verb. We are paint on a slick canvas. It's going to take a whole lot to stick, but if we do, we'll be a masterpiece. And we were. From the beginning, living in towns that frowned at our hand-holding, folding their stares like hate notes into our pockets so we could pretend they weren't there. You said fear is only a verb if you let it be. Don't you dare let go of my hand. That was my favorite line. That and the time when we saw two boys kissing on the street in Kansas, and we both broke down crying, because it was Kansas. And you said, what are the chances of seeing anything but corn in Kansas? We were born again that day. I cut your cord and you cut mine, and the chords of time played like a concerto of hope, like we could feel the rope unwind, the noose of hate loosening from ears of people like you aren't welcome here, people like you cannot work here, people like you cannot adopt. So we had lots of cats and dogs, and once even a couple of monkeys. You taught to sing, hey, hey, with the monkeys. You were crazy like that. And I was so crazy about you, on nights you couldn't sleep, I would lay awake for hours counting sheep for you. And you would rewrite the rhythm of my heartbeat with the way you held me in the morning, resting your head in my chest. I swear, my breath turned silver the day your hair did. Like I swore marigolds grew in the folds of my eyelids the first time I saw you. And they bloomed the first time I watched you dance to the tune of our kitchen kettle in our living room. In a world that could have left us hard as metal. We were soft as nostalgia together. For 50 years we feathered wings too wide to be prey. And we flew through days strong and days as fragile as sandcastles at high tide. You would fold your love into an origami firefly and throw it through my passageways till all my hidden chambers were lit with lanterns. Now every trap door of every pore my heart is open because of you, because of us. So I do want to be in that room with you. When visiting hours with family members only, I want to know they'll let me in. I want to know they'll let me hold you while I sing. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-dang-a-dang-dang-ding.